Every New York morning starts with a vanilla oat latte, but by sundown, that same cup of coffee has usually witnessed a plot twist, whether it's an elevator dead stop, a rooftop confession, or a midnight chase through neon streets. Buckle up and follow Emily Walker, because today's small moment is about to turn into the story you'll tell at brunch tomorrow. It started like a dozen other late night hustle stories in Manhattan: fluorescent ceilings, humming printers, and one last PowerPoint slide that refused to line up. But for Emily Walker, the moment felt charged, as if electricity chased every breath she took. Outside the 49th floor windows, Midtown glittered, a sprawling circuit board of headlights and neon, and somewhere down among those streets was a future she still half believed in. She saved her presentation with a decisive click, let her shoulders sag in relief, then tapped a message to the one person she had not yet crossed off her night before Valentine checklist. Emily. Landing tonight. Hope you'll meet me. The three-dot typing bubble never appeared. Typical Alex, she thought, always quicker with charm than with certainty. Still, she craved one clean conversation, a chance to ask why the man who once spoke of eloping in Vermont maple orchards had ghosted her for 6 bewildering months. Her phone timer chimed. 90 minutes until her red eye boarded at JFK. She tossed the phone into a leather tote next to a gift box, immaculate silk shirt, hand-chosen Dominicans, and a small envelope containing 2 tickets to a Knicks game Alex used to daydream about. Love tokens, or perhaps bargaining chips. A handful of cherry lollipops from the receptionist's candy jar became her emergency rations, and down the corridor she went, heels cracking like a metronome that urged her to move faster than regret. Another life. Mark Peterson had long ago perfected the art of looking invisible. At 6'2", he should have dominated a room, but the sag of his shoulders and the perpetual backpack made him resemble a half-finished sketch. Tonight, his shift wasn't officially over. He'd volunteered to stay late, patching servers no one would touch until Tuesday. But he was tired, wired on Mountain Dew, and dangerously lonely. He clutched a Pinot Noir he'd promised to deliver to his friend Dylan's birthday week before, then bailed after inventing maintenance emergencies. The truth: crowds rattled him, their jokes he never understood, the way their attention bounced from face to face but never lingered on his. A hallway mirror showed him the same floppy chestnut hair and Marvel tee he'd worn since college. Still a background extra in his own life. Since transferring to security IT a year earlier, he'd noticed Emily on security monitors, a flash of confidence amid the corporate gray. He tracked her commutes, her coffee orders, 3 pumps vanilla, oat milk, and the small way she drummed her nails on the elevator railing when deep in thought. Mark convinced himself these were harmless observations, logical extensions of his job, but logic frays when desire finds a gap to worm through. Impact, 6:28 p.m. The elevator doors parted. Emily glided in first, all focus and fragrance. Mark stepped after her. He caught a whiff, bergamot and something floral he could never name but always recognized. The doors slid shut, gravity hummed. "Great Friday night," Mark said, voice higher than planned. "Just you, me, and the final boss level. Deadlines." Emily's lips twitched, a micro smile he was proud to earn. "Beats the L train," she replied, then dipped back into her phone. He noted her wallpaper, cartoon mountains at sunrise, and filed it in the mental cabinet labeled Things She Likes. Floor 30 blinked, then everything slammed sideways like God elbowing the car. Steel groaned, lights flickered, and the control panel's LEDs guttered into black. An abrupt stillness fell, broken only by Emily's gasp and Mark's startled oath. Emily jabbed the door open button. Nothing. Mark hammered alarm. Nothing. They tried every button, every trick they'd ever seen on TV dramas, but the car remained a tomb of humming machinery. At last, Mark looked up and said, "Okay, new plan, stay calm, ration oxygen." Emily exhaled sharply. "Oxygen's fine, cell bars are not." She waved her phone, 2 miserable dots, then 1, then SOS only. Panic circled, but they spoke practicalities, names, offices, emergency contacts. Emily learned Mark wasn't just IT guy, but also part-time night security. That felt reassuring. He could radio someone, right? Except, he admitted, the radio sat in the security closet he'd locked hours earlier. Emily's heart shrank. Her flight, her maybe reconciliation, every hope for Valentine's weekend, each minute burned another scrap. The first hours, 15 minutes, 30, 45. Mark suggested the hatch. Emily, no stranger to rock climbing gyms, clambered atop his shoulders. Fingers strained at the latch, but a heavy padlock and a lifetime of code violations kept it sealed. Mark staggered. They both toppled, landing in a clumsy pile that might have been comedic if fear weren't acidic in their throats. Because small talk numbed fear, they invented games. Emily posed rapid-fire questions. If you could eat one thing forever? What hero power would you want? Mark answered with surprising speed. Breakfast burritos. Teleportation, because stairs, duh! Soon they were rationing water and candy, Emily drawing neat tick marks on the wall, turning survival into spreadsheets. Mark joked they needed a company theme song. Emily nominated Eye of the Tiger, and they belted out 2 off-key lines that echoed against chrome panels. At 1:03 a.m., Emily's voice became strained. Mark recognized the subtle squirm, bladder agony. He unfurled his hoodie into a makeshift curtain, offered the thermos for privacy. Her face flushed, tears threatened. The offer stung her pride, but biology wins every argument. She made him turn, blast AirPods, and sing. His voice cracked, but he sang anyway. Sweet Caroline, echoing like karaoke in purgatory. When Emily finished, she couldn't meet his eyes. Instead, she doodled a second tick mark and a little cartoon of herself hollering at the ceiling. Hello? Anyone? Mark laughed, not at her humiliation, but at her resilience. The first honest laugh she'd heard in weeks. Soft edges blur. Interviews turned to confessions. Mark revealed he'd once wanted to draw comics. Emily said she'd almost quit corporate life to run a mountaineering guide service in Colorado. Fear makes strangers intimate. They traded failures, near successes, childhood embarrassments. Sometime around 2 a.m., in adrenaline-lit half-darkness, Mark's fingers brushed Emily's hand. She didn't pull away. He leaned in, stole a kiss that tasted of cherry sugar and nerves. The warmth jolted her, a reminder she was alive. Then guilt flooded her. Alex, apology flights, unfinished conversations. She broke the moment gently. I can't, she murmured. My head's messy. Mark's expression tightened, but he nodded. It's okay. Yet inside, disappointment fermented into something rawer. He couldn't push away the fantasy. Locked box, shared secret, destiny's handiwork. He told himself patience would convince her. Revelation. When Emily dozed against the wall, Mark scrolled his secondary phone, a device almost no one knew existed. Thumb flicked through images, Emily tossing hair in the lobby, Emily sipping double-shot vanilla-oat latte, Emily leaning to tie boots on a snowy morning. He didn't realize he was smiling when she stirred awake. What's that? She asked, right before the screen reflected back her own face. Silence detonated. She snatched the phone. Dozens, hundreds of time-stamped photos. Her hands shook. You've been photographing me? I monitor security feeds, he stammered. You were interesting. This is stalking. Her voice sliced. When we get out, I'm pressing charges. Mark's breathing hitched. No, you don't understand. She lunged for the master key, dangling from his belt. He tried to twist away, but the key snapped. Rage crackled. They grappled. Her heel caught his temple. He collapsed, blood trickling. Emily's shock overcame pity. She bound his wrists with her belt and retreated to the far corner, knees shaking like leaves. Blackout. But Mark's stillness was an act. Minutes later, he rolled, slammed her head against steel. Darkness swallowed Emily. When she surfaced, head throbbing, wrists scraped by Ethernet cable, Mark's face hovered an inch from hers, eyes shining manic. He explained in low tones that he'd volunteered for every overnight until Tuesday. No relief guard would come. The building's fail-safes, power, phone trunk, were in holiday mode. Just the two of them, floating between floors. He lifted her gift box, almost reverent. The cigars, silk shirt, Nick's tickets, tokens of a life he might share if she only looked at him properly. He slipped the shirt over his damp Marvel tee, rolled a cigar across his knuckles, savoring its cedar scent. Valentine's should be special, he whispered. Her eyes fixed on the sprinkler head above him, plan incubating. She asked for a light. He obliged, pride swelling that she'd ask him for anything. While he fiddled with the Zippo, Emily stuffed candy wrappers, fragments of his torn hoodie, and splinters from the broken bulb into a mound. She touched flame to scraps. Smoke coiled upward like a dark genie. Sprinkler nipples shattered. Cold deluge thundered. Alarm klaxons howled through the shaft. Mark sputtered. Emily slugged him with her steel thermos. He went down once more, and she wound his own sleeves around his wrists in a double knot. She thumbed record on her phone, breath ragged, documenting everything. Blood on floor, busted panel, her terrified face. Incoming help and horror. On the rooftop, Eddie Patterson's date with Lucy DeSoto was going sideways. He'd promised Skyline romance and ended up with, "Why is that alarm wailing?" Lucy urged him to check it out. Instagram could wait. Eddie spotted the smoked-out camera feed, two forms wrestling in elevator 3. Adrenaline kicked. He grabbed a crowbar, told Lucy to wait on the lobby couch. Prizing the doors took brute force. Metal screamed. Emily's face burst into view, soaked, furious, begging. Eddie wedged the gap wider. Mark, unseen behind Emily, sprang. Crowbar cracked Eddie's skull. He yanked the guard inside, mashed buttons, and the car jerked downward. Somewhere between levels, it stopped with a meat-grinding crunch. Emily's scream snapped as Mark's elbow found her chin. She blacked out yet again. Mark hauled both limp bodies into the garage and arranged new horrors. Eddie stuffed into a utility closet. Lucy silenced when she stirred, asking, "Eddie?" Footage deleted, digital dust. Mark doused surfaces in disinfectant, paranoia at war with frenzy, then loaded Emily into the trunk. Road to fire. Just after 2 a.m. Monday, Mark's Ford Fusion roared onto the George Washington Bridge. The Hudson shimmered beneath sodium vapor lights. Emily, cable still loose around wrists, forced slow breaths, counting heartbeats to stay calm, remembering self-defense classes, wait, strike, escape. He exited at a Palisades overlook seldom visited except by teenage joyriders. Pine silhouettes clawed at a starless sky. Mark poured gasoline into a rusted barrel, humming a 20th century love ballad sputtered on the radio. He flipped open the trunk. Emily lay slack, eyes half open, convincing corpse. When Mark leaned to lift her, she exploded, tire iron straight to his brow. He staggered. She sprinted to the driver's seat, engine still idling. 50 yards down the gravel, she braked. Guilt and fury wrestled. Eddie, Lucy, the years Mark had stolen in obsession. They deserved justice. The half-lit cigar smoldering in the ashtray whispered an idea. Reverse gear engaged. Tires screamed as the bumper crunched Mark, hurling him against the gasoline drum. He slumped inside, soaked in fuel. Emily approached, cigar pinched like a fuse. "Happy Valentine's, creep," she said, voice cracked but triumphant. Ember touched vapor. Fire whooshed skyward, a demonic tulip. Heat slapped her skin as she stumbled back, turned, drove into the night, headlights carving tunnels through fog. Aftermath. At sunrise, NYPD Detective Quinn Ramirez waited outside Emily's hospital room. The place reeked of disinfectant and bad coffee. Emily answered every question with steady clarity. Dates, times, security gaps. Mark exploited the names of 2 innocents he murdered. Her phone video played for the detective, a first-person thriller no studio could dream up. Mark's charred body held a key fob to Grant Tower. Dental records confirmed identity. Forensics linked him to Lucy and Eddie. The DA called Emily critical witness and victim of aggravated kidnapping. Headlines screamed Valentine horror elevator ordeal. Pundits argued over security protocols. Engineers promised audits. Psychologists unpacked the pathology of workplace stalkers. Alex arrived mid-morning, eyes red from panic and sleepless traffic. He hovered by the doorway, unsure. Emily studied him, handsome in his rumpled coat, guilt hanging off him like overheavy snow. The apology he offered was clumsy but heartfelt. 6 months of silence born from burnout, therapy he refused. Shame he swallowed. She listened, unsure what forgiveness looked like after staring death in the jaw. Still, when he asked if she needed anything, she whispered, "Coffee and someone to sit a while." And that was enough for a start. Outside Lenox Hill, reporters thronged. Emily watched them through blinds, feeling like 2 persons. One fighting to breathe behind steel walls, the other a woman with endless Manhattan possibilities. Survival, she realized, was only Act 1. Living afterward took real nerve. Alex returned with a latte, oat milk, 3 pumps vanilla. She laughed despite herself. On the bedside table, she set a single cherry lollipop, half melted from pocket heat, its wrapper charred at the edges. She regarded it like a relic, a reminder that sugar can fuel courage, that choices made in darkness shape the brightest dawns. In the hallway, Detective Ramirez spoke to press. Heroes don't always carry badges. Sometimes they carry thermoses and lollipops. As cameras flashed, Emily closed her eyes, tired, safe, no longer invisible to herself. Somewhere far across the city, bells rang for Valentine's Day, but she felt her own heart strike louder. The promise that whatever came next, she'd meet it with fire in her veins and no locked doors left untested. If this journey kept you turning pages, share the tale, leave a note, and stick around. The city breeds 1,000 midnights, and every one hides a story worth surviving.